Greetings, Mr. Taylor. I was wondering if I was gonna have to call. Then I saw you come on, and that answered my question. Sound check, sound check, sound check. Everything sounding all right. Hopefully, looks like the audio's being picked up well enough. Got the door open and the air conditioner on, so hopefully it's not being picked up too much and it sounds okay. So, video number 3 of coattail riding. This time, I'm trying to remember what this guy's name is. I can check real quick. Well, the title of the video we're going to check out today is Hidden Neck Pattern that will tell you every chord or note in any key. Can you hear the air just a bit? Alright. Well, we'll go with it. If it's not too loud, then let's keep going. Well, no. I'd rather it be cut off altogether. Because I want the edited video to sound, well, as good as possible. So, let's close this off. There. Hopefully that's pretty much drowned out now. It'll just be a bit warm for a bit. Hello, Daniel. You might be right. You might be right. Sticking to the forward scales. Well, let's see here. Just Gelvin Custom Guitars. That's the name of the channel. Now, I've actually subscribed to this guy, and I started watching his stuff when he's talking a lot about tone wood and how when it comes to an electric guitar, the most important things are the hardware. It doesn't really matter what wood you use, it's the hardware that makes the sound. So I thought that was pretty interesting how he talked about all that stuff, and you know, also when it comes to guitar manufacturers, he said that a lot of times the guitar manufacturers will use more expensive wood just to crank up the price of the guitar, when it really doesn't matter when it comes down to the sound for an electric guitar anyway. Acoustic, sure, that's a different matter, I would assume. But anyway, apparently this video is 4 years old almost, and I'm just now watching it. But hey, we might learn something interesting. Maybe I will already know what this pattern is going to be. But let's get into it. So hopefully the desktop audio comes through okay. Let's get to it.
Some of the coolest things happen when the lights go out. What is up, everybody? How's it going out there? In this video, I'm going to show you something very, very cool. Cooler than what we just saw. Give me about 5 minutes, and I bet you're going to be a better player because of this. Let me zoom in to my fretboard, so that way you can actually see what I'm doing a lot better. Pull my sleeves up so I can get down to business. So this is what I'm going to end up doing in this video. I'm going to show you a few patterns here that is going to end up helping your music theory, your playing ability, your understanding of music, your ability to transcribe, playing along with other people, songwriting, everything. It's going to end up helping you in so many different ways, and it's going to end up taking a lot of the mystery out of things that haunted me for a long time. And the very first thing we're going to end up doing is I'm going to show you a pattern that's going to show you every chord within a key and how you can figure it out with literally within seconds.
So hang on, gotta switch my window here. I've never been a fan of when people say every when it comes to chords, modes. I'm assuming he's going to be referring to your standard major, minor, possibly diminished chords. I don't know. But when it comes to every chord, I'm willing to bet that nobody on the planet knows by heart every single possible chord because there are way too many combinations out there. Just like when it comes to modes, and I've seen plenty of video titles, and maybe we'll watch one and react to it and give a response someday. Like when people say all 7 modes, it's like, well, there are more than 7 modes. There are 7 modes that come from the major scale, but what about harmonic minor? That's another 7 modes. What about Hungarian minor, one of my favorite modes, or scales, which is also technically a mode? Well, there's an additional 7 modes right there. So that's 21 modes with those 3 scales, and each of those modes has different interval combinations, and every interval combination can, well, not every interval combination, but you could get a lot more chords when you deal with exotic scales. Just for example, we're talking like every chord. If we're going through like 7th chords, if we look at it from the minor scale perspective, we go through like A minor, and hopefully this isn't too much of a tangent, but hey, we got to talk about something besides just watching the video, right? And we're talking about like every chord, yeah? So let's look at 7th chords, A minor. So we have your A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, also known as half diminished 7, C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G 7. But harmonic minor, we wouldn't have A minor 7 anymore. We would have A minor major 7. We would have the B minor 7 flat 5 again. We would not have a C major 7 anymore. We would have a C major 7 sharp 5. D minor 7 would be present again. The E minor 7 is gone. We would have an E7. Let's see. Yes, we would have F major 7 again. And G7's gone. Now we would end up having a fully diminished G sharp, or a G sharp 7. Question from the YouTube chat. It reads, do you recommend learning the minor pentatonic scales first or the modes? I have my students learn the modes first. Figure it's kind of easier to understand that the pentatonic is kind of like from the modes, and then we just take a couple notes out. But, some people like to do the pentatonic first just so they can start soloing a little earlier. It's easier to play solos with, but I don't think... I question how good it is at teaching the full theory, or like in-depth theory when it comes to modes and scales and how all that goes together. Because the pentatonic scale, like in the key of A minor, well, you have the A minor pentatonic, the D minor pentatonic, and the E minor pentatonic all within the same key. So, and also I think it depends on what style of music you want to play. If you want to just do simple rock stuff, pentatonic's fine. People that come to me want to do more metal-based things and usually want to get into the nitty-gritty, in-depth theory stuff. So we start with the the full major scale, learning the 3 notes per string scale shapes up and down the fretboard, and then we can talk about taking a couple notes out to create the pentatonic scale from the 7-tone diatonic scale. All right, so anyway, back to what I was talking about. Yeah, like the whole every chord or every scale, it's like nobody on earth knows every single possible chord. You could understand theory enough that you read a chord name and you can dissect it. And you're like, okay, well, the chord is saying this, this, and this. Or you could know enough about theory where you have a crazy chord with all kinds of weird notes going on, and then you know enough theory that you can put together a good name to explain what it is you're doing. But yeah, the whole every chord, nobody knows every chord. Nobody can. There are way too many combinations out there. Let's continue.
every chord within any key. Doesn't make a difference. So this pattern is really simple. I'm just going to use starting here on the A just for the sake of location, because it's easier for you guys to see.
I forgot to switch scenes. Lord Potato has joined us. Let's go back here. Let me rewind a little bit so we're not missing anything.
Key doesn't make a difference. What we're going to end up doing is I'm going to show you a pattern that's going to show you every chord within a key and how you can figure it out with literally within seconds. Every chord within any key doesn't make a difference. So this pattern is really simple. I'm just going to use starting here on the A just for the sake of location, because it's easier for you guys to see. But this is the pattern I want you to remember. On the E, doesn't matter what fret, but wherever you start, the one right underneath it, and then we're going to skip one, and then we're going to end up basically doing this. So it's essentially like doing a power chord, right? But we also add that note. So in this particular case, the notes that we would be hitting would be, okay?
That's A, D, and E.
Okay, that pattern. We need to memorize that pattern, because what we're going to do is we're going to do that pattern here, skip 2 frets, and now we're here, and we're going to do it again. And then from there, what we're going to do is with this little guy, we're just going to end up putting it right up here. In this case, on the 4th. So it basically is like this. Okay, that's the pattern. Very easy to remember, because nothing changes except for that guy right there.
Rockstar Jazz Cat over on the YouTube chat said 145. Yes, indeed, 145. Turn on the volume. So, yeah, starting it with A, he's keeping it in the key of A, is what it looks like. And that goes down into the relative minor, F sharp minor. So, yeah, if you're looking at it from the major scale perspective, just like Rockstar Jazz Cat said in the YouTube, that would be the 1 for the 5, that would be the 6, 2, the 3, the 7. Let's continue on. And I'm going to remember to change the scene. Bam! It'll make the job for my lovely editor easier.
The very first 3 that we hit, major. The next 3 we hit, minor. The last one, diminished. So here is exactly how this is going to end up working.
I predicted correctly. He's talking about the majors, the minors, and diminished. Most people don't know diminished. Yes, minor 1, minor 4, minor 5, minor 1, minor 4, major 5. Anyway, so yeah, A major, D major, E major, F sharp minor, B minor, C sharp minor, G sharp diminished. Let's see, what's he gonna go to next? And so far, again, like any key, if this is based off of a major key, yeah, we can find quickly the notes or chords of major keys. And if we're talking about just like your basic triad chords, your major, minor, diminished, sure. But man, there's so many more options out there. Anyway, I think this guy was just trying to put together a pretty simple lesson just to help people find chords quickly. I'm guessing he's going to use a lot of bar chords because they're movable. Very handy to learn. So I'm not trying to sound like a jackass, being like, put this guy down. I'm just, offering more information and informing the viewers, like, hey, there's a lot more stuff out there that anyone could really, truly know, because, good Lord, the combinations are seemingly endless. All right, scene switch. Here we go.
Working. So in this particular case, we end up having an A. I'm starting here. So because I'm starting here on the A, means that this is in the key of A major. Okay, these are the chords in the key of A major. Now what we have to do is we have to shoot down. Boom, boom, bang. And the next three are going to end up being our minor chords, right? So from here we go boom, bang, boom. We have our F sharp minor. And then underneath that we have our B minor, and then we have our C sharp minor, okay? Now remember that pattern, we have boom, bang, boom, then we shoot up here. That's our diminished. This little guy right here is going to be our diminished. And so, that nasty sounding chord,
Is that what he's doing? So YouTube comment says, from Rockstar Jazz Cat, dispelling simplistic explanations and blatant misinformation in this day and age has its value for sure. Appreciate the comment. So, diminished. It sounded like what he played was this. Which, holding that, you can certainly hit the G sharp on the high E string as well. Problem. The three notes that make a G sharp diminished are G sharp, B, and D. G sharp, B, and D. That's it. That's it. You can duplicate those notes as many times as you want in different octaves, mix it up any which way, but those three notes, and only those three notes, make your basic G sharp diminished. You add any other note, it's another chord. And it sounds like he's hitting an F. I need to listen to that again. If he is hitting an F, he's created a chord that's, well, that would actually make it a fully, like a full diminished 7. That makes it a G sharp diminished 7. Can you do that as like a chord substitute? Sure. If you like the sound of it, why not? When it comes down to it, if you like the sound of anything, do whatever the hell you want. But it's not a diminished. It's more than diminished. It's like, yeah, it's so diminished it has a double flat 7. Holy moly. So yeah, I think he's doing a fully diminished 7th chord, G sharp diminished 7 here. Which is in harmonic minor, not natural minor. But let's continue. I want to double check and make sure I'm hearing what he's playing correctly, because I don't want to be saying incorrect shit either.
that's our diminished chord.
Yes, that's exactly what he's doing. So that, it still works okay. You can play a diminished 7 there if you'd like. It still sounds appropriate, I feel. But if you want to play just a G sharp diminished chord, or a diminished chord that's movable starting on the low E string, I recommend don't bar this thing. Don't bar it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Why? Even though you could, like almost like 99% of the time, whenever I show a student this chord, they end up barring it and they do this. And then they hit this note on the B string that is not part of the chord and is not part of the key that they're learning either. So that's why I recommend don't bar this. Use 4 fingers, and basically you start index finger, and we're going with the G sharp diminished because that's what's in the video. Index finger on the 4th fret of the low E. Ring finger 5th fret of the A string. Pinky finger 6th fret of the D string. Middle finger 4th fret of the G string. So there's your root note, there's your flat 5th, root note again, flat 3rd. And anywhere you play that shape is a diminished. Let's get back to the video.
So those are all of the chords in the key of A major, right?
Basic chords, not all, basic. Let's talk about more chords that can happen in the key of A after maybe at the end of this video. We can dive into some more in-depth chord theory. And I definitely do not know all the chords. I know a lot, but not all of them.
Right? So these are our majors. These are our minors. That's our diminished. And this works pretty much anywhere. So up here in the key of C major, we find the C, boom, and we do our majors. First 3 are majors. And then this is a C, F, G, right? And we go boom, bang, boom, right? And now we're at the A minor, D minor, E minor. And of course, we end up having our handy dandy diminished right here, which is B.
Another comment in YouTube, and I keep reading this stuff out loud because when we edit the video down, we may want to have these things as part of the final edit. Rockstar Jazz Cat says, Barry Harris, rest his soul, might disagree with him at this point. So I'm curious, could you elaborate on that one? I don't know Barry Harris. I'm assuming it's a jazz guitar player. Let's get back to the video and await Mr. Jazz Cat's response.
Now you say, okay, well that tells us all the chords for a major, right? It doesn't matter what major it is, as long as we keep to that pattern, it's always going to be true. But what about minors? What about minors? You're not telling me anything about minors. Well, this is a good thing about this pattern. Majors always have what's known as a relative minor. So it's basically the exact same notes, it's just where do you start, right? So if we're up here on the C, and that's our major, but we're starting up here, we just have to reverse that for the minor. And what is the relative minor? Well, right here, remember how I said you just go and you skip 2? This is our relative minor. The very first minor is our relative minor.
Yes, that is true. If you want to find the relative minor of any major key, you go down a step and a half. So that's a whole step plus a half step. So, or it might be easier to look at it as going half step then whole step, because that actually keeps the notes in key. So yes, from that C note, if you go down a half step followed by a whole step, that's your relative minor. Just like key of A, if you go down a half step then a whole step, F sharp is the relative minor of that. So, Rockstar Jazz Cat, he replied. So, he said, if you add the flat 6 to the scale, lots of possibilities. What is that, for those wondering? So, let's go back to the key of A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your major 6. The flat 6 would be in here, so E, F, F sharp. Which I assume is a bebop scale, because that is an 8-tone scale. And that is something way out of my scope of knowledge. Excuse me. Let's continue reading what Rockstar has to say. So yes, he said, if you add the flat 6 to the scale, lots of possibilities. You'd want to search Barry Harris and 6th diminished scale. Okay? These scales act like planets that have other things happening around them. Learning the key on its own often misses the larger picture. Depending on the goal, the pattern could help many, but puts chord tones on downbeats. So yes, this is clearly a jazz thing. So, yeah, So 6th diminished scale. Is this also considered a bebop scale? So he says yes, it is a bebop scale, although we're learning some jazz stuff here. Now, see, me and the stuff that I listen to, I tend to just stay with like your typical minor scale, harmonic minor, just like the 7-tone things. Doesn't mean I would not benefit from learning what Rockstar Jazz Cat is sharing here. In fact, the more you learn, the more options and possibilities you have at your disposal. So there's definitely nothing wrong with learning things that are typically not played in metal in order to create new metal sounds. Anyway, so yes, after I asked, with the scale he's referring to a bebop scale, he says yes, although akin to adding major 7 to dominant scale, Harris speaks of adding chromatics in contrast to other folks that teach the scales as bebop. So I'm guessing the regular bebop scale would be more like taking Mixolydian and adding the major 7, so something like, whoops. Was that your more traditional bebop scale right there? Versus the Barry Harris one. As it's taught, yes. Okay, well look at that. Now I know the bebop scale is basically a combination of the Mixolydian and Ionian mode. Combine the two, you got your bebop scale. And then the 6th diminished scale is, how would I want to call that? Well, basically your Ionian mode plus the flat 6 thrown in there too. And David Baker teaches of the bebop scale. Harris's view is deeper. All right, now that could be something for a whole other thing. Like maybe it would be worth checking out a video and responding and reacting to that and trying things out that we see in that. But hey, let's get back to this. We got like 7 minutes left of the original video. Bunch of diminished scale in between. See, there's all kinds of stuff in theory. There's so much stuff in music theory. Like, there's so many things to learn. If you want to, you can always learn something new. You can always learn something new when it comes to music. Let's get back to the original video here before we run too long.
No matter what it is. So if I'm sitting here and once again, and I'm playing an A major, and I want to know the relative minor of this A right here, skip 2, boom, it's right here. It's a G flat or an F sharp. That's the relative minor. So if somebody says, hey, I'm going to be playing in the key of G minor, we just reverse what we've done. So we start with the minors, right? We have, of course, our little diminished right here. And then from here, this is where we would end up having our majors. Because a G minor is the relative minor of this guy right here. So by knowing that pattern, you already know the minors as well. It's just instead of starting up here and going down, you start down here and you move up. That's that. So now you know all the chords in every key simply by that simple pattern.
We got 6 minutes and 45 seconds left of the video. We're definitely going to circle back to this whole every chord and every key thing, because we're going to talk about stuff that I teach students, and yeah, it's going to be a very quick just like chord vomit thing. And I'm not going to explain in detail what they all are that I do know, because that would take way too long. Quite all right, Daniel. it's still cool that you're talking about this stuff. We can always check it out. If you got a video that you could like share, or like link to, or email it to me, send it in the chat, whatever, we can check it out as like maybe the next one. Do that, check out how it's being taught in the video, and then see how I can apply it to the metal. Take the bebop and make it more brutal. Here we go. Back to the video. Let's see where we go now that he just said, you know every chord of every key.
One of the things that I had the hardest time with was trying to learn or figure out what notes you play over a particular chord. When I was trying to learn all this stuff, man, it seemed so hard. And every time that there was a video, there'd always be some jackass saying, oh, here's an A minor pentatonic. And it's like, you know something? That doesn't help me. The only thing that tells me is if somebody's sitting here and they're playing an A minor, I can play over it. That's the only thing that ever told me. And the people that teach that, I honestly think just don't really know what the hell they're talking about, what they're teaching. They you know, those that can do, those who can't teach, which, you know, what's my excuse? There you go. And there's nothing wrong with that box. There's nothing wrong with the pentatonic box. But you need to understand, if this is an A minor pentatonic, what that also suggests is in the key of A minor. So once again, key of A minor also is what? What's the relative major? C. So it's not only an A minor pentatonic, but it's also a C major. Okay? What about the notes? Well,
so yes, 100% agree with what he's saying there. Your A minor pentatonic absolutely fits in the key of A minor, which also fits in the key of C major for sure. Now, I highly recommend that you learn the 3 notes per string scale shapes. You can do the cage system ones as well, but I like the 3 notes per string because you always have 3 notes each string. And you end up having a combination of 3 patterns, really. What are those patterns? Well, they get doubled up in your major scale shape. So let's use the key of C, because those are your natural notes. Good place to start if you don't know this stuff. But basically, from your index finger, you got a whole step, whole step. So 2 frets, 2 frets. So that's one pattern. The whole step, and then you have the half step, whole step. So going up from your index finger, half step, whole step. And then the third pattern that you use in these scale shapes, you go up from your index finger, again, a whole step, then a half step. So, and I remember seeing something many years ago where a guy referred to things as like pattern 1, 2, and 3. And there was some, basically like a mathematic formula to make it really easy to remember things. I can't remember what the heck it was. Like, yeah, if you're going through all the scale stuff, like, well, let's just call it, I'm just going to say whole, half, or half whole. Like the Dorian shape going next, you'd have your whole half, and then whole, half whole. Phrygian, you'd have your half whole, half, whole. Sounds like I'm Santa Claus. Ho. Phrygian, well, we just did Phrygian. I'm going to go to Lydian next. We always have students learn the open E Phrygian anyway. So you would have your half whole, half, whole, Santa Claus. Lydian, you go whole, half whole, whole half, whole. Mix a Lydian. Start with your Santa Claus stuff. Whole. Half whole, whole half. Aeolian. Whole half, whole again. Half whole. And then the Locrian shape. Half whole, whole half, whole, 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 whole. So you see, it's just those three things just stacked in different ways over and over and over again. So I think it's a little easier to memorize shapes like that versus just doing the cage system, because like you could, again, you totally could. Like one of the first scales I learned was an A minor scale like this. But then you got to remember, well, what string has only the two notes? You can also do the C major scale like this. A lot of people learn a major scale this way. But then you got two strings that have only two notes. So then you got to remember that. Nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad idea to learn both the 3 notes per string shapes and the condensed, I like to call them condensed shapes because you're not stretching anywhere, but they're also called the cage system shapes. But yeah, as long as you're learning the notes, you're learning the fretboard, you know, through scales that you can use well, you're good. Use whatever ones you want to use. Lord Potato. Brutal bebop should be a new genre. Does that say Harm Farm? Punk bluegrass back in the day. The Ford scales I involved 2 simple 3-note per string patterns that connect into various ways. Yes, yes you did. I remember there's like a... I think that's kind of how you were doing it. Something like that. Ugh. Oh my god. Wait a minute, that wasn't right. Something like that. Anyway, I better get back to this. We're never going to get this video done. Open and close. One like a tic-tac-toe and the other with the half step in the corners. Gotcha. Okay, we better get back to this. How long have I been streaming? Been 40 minutes for a 12-minute response? Jesus Christ. I'm giving my editor so much work.
Well, the thing is the notes are also the same in that pattern, but we can also figure out the notes in another way. And this one I call every other, okay? So basically every other fret, every other note. And then we go underneath and we do the same thing. Okay, and then we do the flat of whatever we started with. So if we're here on the C, it'd basically be like this. Okay, and then that pattern tells us all the notes in the key of wherever we start, right?
That's basically how I show my students this kind of thing he was going on about. He basically played the first 6 notes of a 3 notes per string scale shape. And then there's your 7th note there, just an octave lower than this. It's basically just a half step below your root note. And you end up getting the same thing. Major, minor, minor, major chord, minor chord, diminished. So learning that, I mean, the way that Gelvin has shown his pattern is fantastic for quickly going from major chords to minor chords and diminished. But you can do the same thing here. Just visualizing it, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because you're, again, basing it on a major scale. 1, 4, 5, always major. Your 2, 3, and 6, minor. 7th is diminished. And that's just your triad stuff. Anyway, let's get back to it.
So if I'm sitting here in a C major, if I start on a C, because it's C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. There it is. Okay? That's all the notes in the key of C major.
Yep.
So during the time that somebody is playing in the key of C major, whether it's this or they're playing the relative minors, as long as I'm hitting those notes, you know, not in that necessarily in that box, but I'm hitting those particular notes anywhere on the fretboard, I'm going to be playing in tune with that.
Yes.
And it's going to sound right.
Agreed.
Okay, this is when you can start using scales. If somebody says, well, this is a major scale, and they show you a pattern, and then you can use that pattern over the C, right? Or maybe over the B, or over the A, or whatever. This is a minor scale. Now you can use this over that particular key, and now it should start making sense to you. But what about the minor? Because that's for what I had shown you right there. That is for the major notes, okay? Well, what we can do is pretty much the same thing. The only difference is instead of doing every other like that, because that would be for an A major, this is going to be for an A minor. We just end up not skipping that guy, okay? And it's right underneath it. Same. And then this is where we end. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And those are the notes in the key of A minor.
That is true. Absolutely.
Okay, which also happen to be the exact same notes.
Hey, blueberries are good. So YouTube comment, Robert Dragon says, my 2.5-year-old and I are eating blueberries and watching you and trying to get smart. Well, hopefully I can help you get smarter here, or at least give something useful. Glad to have you on.
In the key of C major. Okay, those patterns right there are going to end up bailing you out of so many problems and helping you out. Let's say, for instance, you're transcribing something. You're trying to figure out what the chords are to this particular song, and you know that you have one of them that is a major here, and then also another chord might be here. What are the rest of the chords? You know, what chords were they probably using for that song? It's probably a whole bunch of different other ones they could use, right? So how do you figure it out? You step back and say, well, if I know that this is a major, and I know that this is a major, what pattern, using that initial pattern, what could it possibly be? It means that it has to be here. It means it has to be an A major. It has to be.
Yeah, and this is a pretty simplified thing that he's saying, but yes, like understanding like how major scale or minor scale chords are laid out. And for my editor, don't worry about the fact that this corner is like, I'm really small, just leave this one alone because this is going to be quick. Yeah, especially if it's bar chords. But anyway, what he's saying is yes, that is absolutely true and very, very helpful what he's talking about here. So I agree with what he's going on here. It could definitely get more complicated, but anyway, I'm going to shut up.
Be an A major, because this is part of it, that is part of it. So anyway, guys, hopefully that is going to end up helping you out tremendously on transcribing music, on writing music, on understanding what notes to play over certain chords, you name it. I mean, this should help you out tremendously. And if you like this video, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, feel free to share it or whatever. And also check out my other videos on the Embryonic Guitars website, which I'm going to post a link in the description, because there I have two videos. One of them is called Mastering the Fretboard 1, and the other one is called Mastering the Fretboard 2. And both of them show you patterns, just like I showed here, except even easier ones, that all of a sudden unlock this fretboard, and you're going to look at the guitar completely different after watching those videos. One of the problems that we have when we're trying to decipher this right up here is the way that we're being taught to look at the fretboard is incorrect. The fretboard is your friend. The fretboard here contains all the information that you need to know that actually will help you decipher music theory and everything. You just need to know a few patterns, and these patterns are very, very easy. It's not having to memorize every note on the fretboard or like every scale or anything. It's not like that at all. It's just knowing where to look, what to do, all this type of stuff, and all of a sudden it unlocks all of it. And in those videos I show you how to do that, as well as in those videos I show you how to memorize every note on the fretboard, and literally it's memorizing it. And with my method of memorizing the notes on the fretboard, if you practice it for 1 hour, you'll probably already be 50 times better. We're knowing where all the notes are, okay? And then if you practice it every day for a week, for a couple of hours, you'll know it like the back of your hand. Every time you look at it, you'll be like, I know what that note is. It's just like almost instantaneously, you'll know what it is. And it's the easiest way. It really is the easiest way. Go check out my other videos. They're on the website. I'm going to put a link in the description. But anyway, guys, until I see you again, Marilyn and I bid you good day.
And there we go. Okay. I'm going to change something here. I'm going to remove this from my watch later playlist because now I don't have to. It's been watched. Well, there you go. It is, I cannot talk. So, it is a useful tip. Very useful tips what he has there, especially when dealing with bar chords. And it can help a lot of people get a good jump start at understanding, well, what chords happen in your major keys and your minor keys. And we're talking about basic chords, though, major, minor, and diminished. Although, I wonder if he did it on purpose where he added in a more advanced chord for the diminished and did a diminished 7, which does not occur in a major scale. Yeah, I think when it comes to like note memorization and whatnot, the most important thing, at least what I tell students who don't know how to navigate the notes on the fretboard, is just remember that E and F, they're a half step apart. B and C are a half step apart. What does that mean? It means there's basically nothing in between. Just E to F. They're right next to each other. E, F, right? That's E and F. B and C. Everything else is a whole step apart. If you can remember that and the names of your strings, you're gold, because then you can just figure it out. Just if you don't, it's like when I work with students, I tell, and they ask like, oh, how do I work on memorizing this and that? It's just like, my thing is just like, pay attention to the names of the notes of the modes that we're using and all this chord stuff that we're doing. It's like, if you know the names of your strings, you can figure it out pretty quick. And it's just like, do it again and again and again. And the more that you do it, it's just going to like sink in. It really does just sink in. You don't have to do like any weird extra memorization work for it. Like, you will learn the notes. Like, if you're one of my students, you're definitely learning the notes on the fretboard as you're doing all the mode theory, chord theory, and all that stuff, right? We got some comments to read here. So yeah, like, if for those of you who don't know, and this is what my dad taught me to memorize the names of the strings. Every ass does good by everyone. Again, to memorize the names of the strings on guitar, he taught me every ass does good by everyone or everybody. So, and because there's a potty word in there, made me laugh, and I remembered it. E-A-D-G-B-E. So, which is also technically an E minor 11 chord. The ninth interval's not there, that's true, so you could say it's an E minor 7 add 11. But the way I was taught, the ninth interval doesn't really have to be in there in order for it to be considered a minor 11. So there you go. Everyone's got one and they keep us healthy? What? Well, I suppose they can keep us healthy, yes. Anyway, so yeah, we've been streaming here for what? Almost an hour. Well, I did say let's talk about like this explore the every chord thing. How do I want to do this? I want to bring up a Word document, I think. Or do I want to bring up a mode thing? I do a Word document. I don't know how long it's going to take. Well, let's see. Yes, every ass. Maybe I want to do it like this. Yeah, why not? All right, so we were in the video we just watched. Was basing things around your major scale, right? So let's go with the modes here. First mode, also known as your major scale, is Ionian. So, the heck is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're talking about intervals here. And I'm not going to get into great detail here, but basically your major scale, I think, is the most important one to learn if you want to know your music theory, because this is where like everything comes from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's your first interval, second interval, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh interval. You can be more in depth with it. Say that's your, obviously your root, tonic, and then major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh. Anyway, when we manipulate things from that major scale, that's when we come up with, we have different modes, and then we have different interval combinations we can use for different chords. So, I'm going to keep typing things out here. Hopefully it's not too boomy with the mic sitting on the desk. So, Dorian mode, you take the third and sixth notes of your major scale and flat them. So now we have a flat third or minor third and a flat 7 or minor 7. Phrygian is next. We got quite a few flats in here. So minor second, minor third, minor sixth, and minor 7. Lydian. Now this one, fairly easy to remember what's different because it is the fourth mode in the major scale and it's the only one with a sharp 4. Mixolydian has a flat 7. That's where you get your dominant 7th from. Aeolian, or your minor scale. Flat 3rd, flat 6, and flat 7. Locrian, oh my goodness, everything except the 4 is flat. You know, let's add a little bit here. Let's zoom in some. Let's make these even bigger. Okay. So this is also your major scale. An Aeolian. That's your natural, your minor scale. Natural minor. Or just minor scale. Alright. So, yeah, we're going to dive into more of this whole every chord. Man. So let's just explore this a bit. Let me see. Change the size of me as well. This way you can see what the heck I'm gonna do. Alright, so the chords he talked about were basically the first, third, and fifth note of, we could say each mode here, because that's what he's talking about. Like, so you get to 1, 3, and 5. So if you're looking at your C major scale, well, I said I'm not gonna get into much detail, so I need to stay focused here. You got it. So there's your major chord here. We'll just look at the key of C. So you C major, Lydian mode, which is the fourth mode, has a 1, 3, and 5 as well. So F major, Mixolydian has a 1. Well, they all have a 1, but 3 and a 5. So G major there. So yep, C, F, and G major, right? Because the Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian have a first, third, and fifth. That's it. None of the other modes do. So we have different things that happen. So keep that in mind. Different things that happen. So the Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian, those three modes have a first, minor third, and 5. 1, flat 3, 5. 1, flat 3, 5. So in the key of C, D Dorian happens. So we got, again, there's your D minor, E minor for the Phrygian mode, A minor. Okay? And then Locrian is the only mode that has a 1, flat 3, and flat 5. So when you have your first flat third and flat 5, or your root note, minor third, diminished fifth, you have your diminished chord. Play it over here too. So again, looking at the intervals used with each mode there, you see there's more going on than just root third fifth or flat third or flat 5. You have twos, you have flat twos, you have a sharp 4 in one point, you got flat 6s, you got flat 7s, natural 7s. So there's a heck of a lot more options happening here. I'm going back to the YouTube chat. Rockstar Jazz Cat. You got major 6, diminished 7, major. Now that one, major 6 over 3. Is that how I'm reading that? And get your minor 4, diminished 7, major 6 over 5, flat 6, diminished 7, major 6 over 6. Oh, okay. Talking about like inversions here. The diminished 7, 6 diminished chord scale harmonized but focused. Yep, inversion. Gotcha. So let's just go in the order I go with students here. Okay. So we do suspended chords next because they're just taking your triad chords and just taking the 3 and dropping it down or raising it up. Basically, we're replacing the 3 with either the 2 or the 4. But as you see here, not everything can be turned into a suspended second or suspended 4 because, look at Phrygian. That has a flat second. You can't have an E suspended second in the key of C. Doesn't exist. You can't have an F suspended 4 in the key of C because we have a sharp 4. And Locrian, well, goodness, you have a flat 5, so that right out rules, that straight up rule. Oh my God. Editor, please save me on this one. Because Locrian has a flat 5, you cannot have a suspended second or a suspended 4. It's going to be a variation. I mean, the flat 5 hopefully makes that obvious, but you also have a flat 2 to deal with. So, going along with the whole thing here, and I'm just going to do it right here. So, like your Ionian mode, you have a major chord. Dorian mode, minor chord. Phrygian, minor. Lydian, you have a major. Mixolydian, you have a major. Aeolian, you have a minor. Locrian, you have diminished. Well, in Ionian, you also have a suspended second. Dorian has a suspended second. Phrygian has a suspended flat second. And man, it's a bitch to hold in this position, but sounds so damn cool to me. Lydian, you have a suspended second. Mixolydian, suspended second. Aeolian, suspended second. Locrian, suspended flat second, flat 5. And I'm just going off of what my teacher taught me many years ago out of the books Chord Camp. Chord Camp 2 and 3. Those are the ones he had me study out of. Anyway, so suspended 4s now. Ionian, and by the way, suspended second is the first, second, and fifth interval, okay? So if you look here at Ionian, you have a 1, a 2, and a 5. So every mode that has a 1, 2, and a 5, you can have a suspended second there. And that pattern that was shown in this video we're responding to, that doesn't tell you that. It just tells you what the root notes are. You have to know a hell of a lot more theory to know all kinds of chord combinations, interval combinations, and whatnot. So this is where like modes can really tie into the chords, and chords can tie into the modes because, well, they're all tied in together, right? Intertwined, yeah? So suspended 4s is first, fourth, and fifth interval together. So that would be the 1, the 4, and the 5. So what modes have that? The Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, and Aeolian. Lydian doesn't have it. Locrian doesn't have it. So what do we end up having? Ionian, we can have a suspended 4. Dorian, we have a suspended 4. Phrygian, suspended 4. Lydian, this is one of my favorite chords, suspended sharp 4. I mean, if you want to have something sound Lydian, I mean, you have to have that sharp 4 in there. I don't need these headphones on anymore. Anyway, Mixolydian has a suspended 4. Aeolian, suspended 4. Locrian has a suspended 4 flat 5. Now, 7th chords. Hey, we were talking about jazz earlier. It sounded like I said chalking about it. Talking about jazz. A lot of people refer to jazz chords or 7th chords as jazz chords. So I'm not going to be able to just like spread my fingers out for everything for this one. So I'm going to play something a little bit different here. I'm going to basically take this kind of bar chord where we stack the intervals 1, 5, 1, again, 3. I'm going to take that octave of the root note and lower that down. So the voicing we have is 1, 5, 7, 3. So how many modes have this occurring? The Ionian mode, that has a 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's the order of intervals, just to simplify things, that make a major 7. Lydian also has a 1, 3, 5, 7. That's it. Those are the only 2 positions you can have a major 7 when staying in key. We're not going to talk about going out of key. We're not going to talk about like any weird, interesting, fun things you can do. We're just staying in key and keeping it simple. Drop 2 for the win. I don't know what that means. Drop 2 for the win. Or what drop 2 means. But so again, Ionian and Lydian, 1st and 4th position, you can have a major 7. That's it. You can only have 2 major 7s in a major key, as long as you're staying in key and being very strict about that. You can play any major 7 you want all over the place for, you know, making it sound the way you want it to sound. But anyway, we're just talking about what's in key here. Now you look at the next mode, Dorian. We're skipping every other note here. So you have root, flat 3rd, 5, and flat 7. So 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7, that is a minor 7 chord. And Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian, all 3, you can make those minor 7. So Dorian, Phrygian, Aeolian, we're down here. Got your minor 7 chords. Mixolydian, very special one. It's the 5th mode. And we had a major chord that happened there. But now we have a major chord plus the flat 7, or minor 7, which creates a dominant 7 chord. So 5th position, we have a dominant 7. And then Locrian, you got the diminished chord plus a flat 7. So 2 names I learned. You have either a minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished 7. Why is it half diminished 7? Well, quick answer is a fully diminished 7 has a double flat 7. So you'd have to take that A note in the half diminished 7, the B half diminished 7, and flat that, and then boom, there you go. Now you have a fully B diminished 7, which is not in a major key. Drop the 2nd note from the top and put it on the bottom. Refers to position and grip, not function in key, because it's not fully diminished. Yeah, it's not fully freaking... Anyway, editor, we can cut that part out for the final video. Gotcha. It's basically taking the 2nd... We'll take the drop the 2nd note from the top and put it on the bottom. So basically take this note, take the B note there and put that on the bottom. Kind of do like that. That's a heck of a stretch. My wrist does not like that one. Okay. Other things going on here. Like after this, I usually teach people about like 7 suspended chords where you have like a mix of the 7s and suspended chords. So just like you can take the third interval and replace it with a 2 or a 4 in your triad chord. When I say triad chord, just very simplified explanation here. It's major, minor, diminished. Also augmented, but augmented does not occur in a major key. But you can replace the third interval in a 7th chord, and sorry, my screen just flashed. That was weird. Just making sure nothing bad is going on. So yeah, so you can, so like instead of having the 1, 3, 5, and 7, you can have a 1, 2, 5, and 7. And then you'd have major 7 sus2. Or you can have a 1, 4, 5, 7 interval, then you'd have a major 7 sus4. And again, looking at the modes here, not every mode has that. And that pattern shown in this video that we're responding to, reacting to, well, it doesn't tell you that. All it does is tell you the root notes of the chords in that key. So, yeah, there's so much more out there. Even, like, let's go even further. Like, what about 9th chords? Well, what a 9th chord is, technically, and I'm just simplifying, like if you keep skipping every other notes, you know, you'd have your 1, then the 3, then the 5, then the 7. Well, you'd skip the 1 and land on the 2. 9 is an octave of the 2. So then you got even more stuff there. So you have your 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So you'd have a major 9. So, well, how many other modes have that? Well, let's look at the next major one. So Lydian, you have that. Mixolydian, you don't. You'd have a dominant 9 in the 5th position. And then looking at Dorian, so you would have 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, and then your 2, which in this case 9, so you'd have a minor 9. Well, Phrygian, you can't have that because you have this. It would be minor 7, flat 9. Aeolian, you can have a minor 9 there as well. But see, there's all kinds of combinations you can do there. And you don't have to just skip every other note name either, like a suspended 2nd chord doesn't do that. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So, you can, again, combine all kinds of stuff there, all kinds of things. So, nobody's ever going to know every single possible chord out there. It can't be done. Again, these are just the modes from the major scale. There's more modes when it comes to harmonic minor. There's more when it comes to melodic minor. There's more when it comes to Hungarian minor. Then you got what? Neapolitan major is another scale. Enigmatic minor, I think, is another one. If anyone's seen the Guitar Grimoire, where it has just an insane amount of scales in there, you'll know. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. Like, if you have 10 different exotic scales, and they all have 7 notes, that's 70 modes. 70 modes! And you already have just a ton of combinations right here from the major scale itself in these modes. So yeah, there's no way anyone's ever going to know every single chord. It's not possible. There's just too much stuff out there to learn. Yes, knowing the common ingredients. Very good. So, yeah, when it comes to theory, I mean, it can get crazy vast, and you can get so in depth with all kinds of interval combinations and modes and whatnot. But if you understand like the building blocks of these things, it can expose you to all kinds of new sounds that you may have not. I'm going to reword that. Editor, fix this. It's like, let's put it this way. When I learned music theory and all this chord stuff, it exposed me to sounds I never would have come across without doing so. Like one of my favorite ones, and I know this is like an inversion or a voicing of a minor 7, but like, not a minor 7, I think it'd be like a major 7, but like this, as I was taught to call it, the intervals 1, flat 3, 5, flat 6, call it a minor flat 6. And man, just stacking the intervals this way, such an amazing sound to me. I can switch this back over here so we're not looking at the modes anymore. Actually, you know what? Let's go through the modes one more time. We're talking about 6 chords. Why not? So, yeah, like every 6th chord is just an inversion or different voicing of a 7th chord and vice versa. And every suspended 2nd chord is a voicing or inversion of a suspended 4. Did you know that? Well, we're not getting into detail with that right now. But hey, if you want to get more detail about that, say something. Maybe we can put that in another video, another live stream thing. Anyway, 6th chord. So what does that involve? It's going 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 6th interval there. So we got different combinations that can happen. So your Ionian mode. Let's see how I want to play these here. Do this in a spot where I can actually play it without killing my hands trying to stretch. So if I'm going to replace the octave here with the 6th. So Ionian mode, you got a major 6. Your Dorian mode, you have a minor 6, which is very characteristic of Dorian itself. If you use a minor 6 chord, I mean, that's a Dorian sound through and through, because you have the 1st, flat 3rd, and 5, which is the minor chord or minor triad, plus that major 6 with it. Only Dorian has that. Only Dorian has that, so it sounds very Dorian. So go figure. And then Phrygian, there's that sound. The minor flat 6. Lydian has major 6 again. The Mixolydian also has major 6. Aeolian, one of my favorite chord sounds once again. The minor flat 6. And then here we have minor flat 6, flat 5. Daniel, very, very curious what you think about this. Now, I was taught to call that interval combination there of your 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 6, a minor flat 6, flat 5. How were you taught to call it that? Always curious what someone who studied jazz theory has to say on these chords. While he's answering that, so I mentioned that your 7th chord and 6th chord, they actually share the same notes. So let's look at my favorite, one of my favorites here, right? The E minor flat 6. Well, what notes make an E minor flat 6? You have E, putting it in order, you have E, G, B, and C. Well, what else uses that? That's a C major 7 chord. C, E, G, B. C, E, G, B. So, a C major 7 has the same 4 notes as an E minor flat 6. But how you stack the notes can create a whole nother sound. So, here's your C major 7. Here's your E minor flat 6. Rockstar Jazz Cat says he's going to grab a guitar and tell me what he would name what I said was a minor flat 6, flat 5. Again, I just go off of what my teacher taught me out of the books he had me study with. There's all kind, and you can name chords all kinds of different stuff. Like I did something with actually I gave lessons to someone on like how to actually push your speed and be all shreddy and whatnot, who had, I think he had 2 majors in music, and you know, he's a jazz guy. He knows a lot about jazz stuff. He teaches all kinds of in-depth jazz theory. And I asked him about like suspended flat seconds, and the way he teaches it, he calls it a suspended flat 9. So there's a suspended second with actually the second an octave higher. Flat that, there you go. An easy way of playing a sus flat 2, or you could call it sus flat 9, I guess. Question is hurting my head, LOL, may need to get back to you. I'd use it in a progression. I'm going to say I don't use it in a progression at all. I just want to say it's just period, just pure math. It's just that interval combination and that interval combination alone. And I find it interesting because I've heard this before, and I think you and I had this discussion where chord names can be, depending on how the chord is used, can change how you call the chord. I like to look at chords, and the way I teach my students is just like, look at it by itself. There is zero context other than here's the root, there's the next note, there's the next note, and there's the next note. So basically, there's the math problem. Boom. And harmonic equivalence, yeah. Because I know, let's see, the minor 6 flat 5. What are the other notes there? Hang on a second. So that would be the root note of the 7th equivalent. So minor 6 flat 5 is just an inversion of your dominant 7. So what am I looking at here? So in this case, like if we take a... We're just going on nice theory talk here. I can go ahead and close this thing. Yeah. So, those of you wondering, I think this part should be kept in the final edit as well. A lot of this stuff. But anyway. So, remember I stacking this thing up, I'm going 1st, 5th, 6th, 3rd, so 1, 5, 6, 3. 1, 5, 6, 3. The 6th interval of the 6th chord is the root note of the 7th chord equivalent. So a C major 7, or I'm sorry, a C major 6 or C6, same notes as an A minor 7. C6 is an A minor 7. D minor 6 is a B minor 7 flat 5, aka half diminished 7. D minor 6, same notes as B half diminished 7. E minor flat 6, same notes as a C major 7. E minor flat 6 is a C major 7. F6, same notes as a D minor 7. F6 or F major 6 is a D minor 7. G6, E minor 7. G6, E minor 7. A minor flat 6 is just an F major 7. A minor flat 6, F major 7. And just like we said, B minor flat 6 flat 5, G dominant 7. B minor flat 6 flat 5, G dominant 7. So put that in a song. All right. Well, this is quite the stream here. I think it's pretty close to time for me to eat again. And it's hot in this room. Well, it was nice getting to have some back and forth there, discussing music theory with Rockstar Jazz Cat. Yeah, I'm starting to feel lightheaded. I need to eat. But I'll hang around for a second if anyone has any questions they'd like to get in before I end the stream. Now's a great time. That's no good. No good to be starved for conversation. I'll screw that up. God damn it. I want to get a better take of that so we can use that in one of the clips shared online. Basically taking this jazz theory, taking that A minor flat 6. Why is this buzzing? Anyway, and then going to the C major 7 arpeggio there and doing something a bit more metal with it. Keep that going until I get a take I'm satisfied with so I can actually use the clip for the old YouTube and all that other fun crap. C flat, G, A flat. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Let's try this again. Another. There we go. That's going online. Well, it is kind of online right now, isn't it? I'm using that clip. God dang it. X-Files theme song uses that interval combination. Absolutely. And it can create some extremely bizarre chord names just to confuse the hell out of people. harmonic minor one. I'm talking about stacking up like the 1, 5, 6, 3. God, it would have to be. No, that's right for this one. And then this would be. God, what the hell would this be? So in harmonic minor, instead of having a C6, we'd have a C6 sharp 5. Then what the heck would that one be? That would be D minor 6 again. That stays the same in harmonic minor, yes. We would not have E minor flat 6 anymore because we would have to have the sharp, or the G sharp, making it major. So in this case, we'd have an E major flat 6. F major 6 would stay the same. And then this, oh goodness. The top of my head. If we did that, we just need to sharp the boom. That actually stays a minor flat 6, flat 5 we have. Hurting my wrist. Alright, I'm done sweating here. Thank you to everyone. I cannot speak. Thank you to everyone who watched the live stream. Special thanks to Rockstar for sharing some theory stuff there. But yeah, you find a link to a video regarding that stuff you shared earlier by throwing in that minor 6 or the flat 6 to the major scale. It'd be a cool thing we can check out and watch, respond to it. Take the concept shown and put it in a metal context. And yeah, time to end the stream. Hopefully within a week we'll have this thing edited down and online. Teaching some theory. Good to hear, Daniel. Go eat potato and be blessed. Yes. All right. Ending it. Ending